Hey there. I've been meaning to do a creation post for probably a few years and I'm finally doing one. And so for my first one, I just decided to take 3 points that I have found to be good evidence for creation and against evolution, and I'll explain what they are and why they're important. And the three are stereoisomers, DNL, mitochondrial Eve and chromosomal Adam, and 4 main gene pools that all human lineages have been traced back to. So I'll start out with the stereoisomers. Stereoisomers are actually a way that forensic scientists can determine how old something is. Basically, a stereoisomer are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. So basically, your hands. You can put them over top of each other, but they're still your left and right hand. Well, sugars and proteins are the same way with that. So in nature, you'll find both the D and the L form. Let's say L is like your left hand, D is like your right hand. Ribose and all biosynthesized sugars are all D isomers everywhere in life, in nature. And amino acids are all L isomers. Now what's interesting about that is, I mentioned the forensics, all bioactive amino acids are the L isomers, but once an organism dies, that isomer switches over to the D form on its own because it's a more stable form of the isomer. So basically, the point is, with evolution trying to reach all these L forms without any sort of directed process, without any sort of intelligence or intelligently directed energy, there's very little likelihood that the L form would be found in all life today. And the evolutionary idea is that of common descent is that we've all pretty much come from bacteria, which came from inanimate chemicals to begin with. When each of the separate amino acids that are contained within a living organism, they take the livo-stereoisomer configuration, and then when they die, they switch over to D, and that's called racemization, which is basically you're going to have L and D forms together. And the rate's affected by different variables, but yet again, you don't typically find the L form in nature. So if it was supposed to be nature that's undirected, leading to life, why is it we don't find those typically in nature? And even Dean Kenyon, who is an evolutionary biologist, said, "We have not the slightest chance of a chemical evolutionary origin for even the simplest of cells." I'm going to go on to mitochondrial Adam, or Eve, and chromosomal Adam. Basically, they had done genetic studies, and the mitochondrial DNA, for the most part, they found some discrepancies, but for the most part, is only inherited through the maternal line. So they've traced all humans back to one female. Now, evolutionists would tell you it's one female one original population, but as a creationist, I believe it is one female. They traced that to, according to their dating methods, 140,000 years ago, and I got that quote off of the genetic genealogist. They say that they came somewhere out of Africa. And then chromosomal Adam, which they trace using the Y chromosome, one of the sex chromosomes, they found that all modern men were descended from that one man. And they put his age at about 60 to 90,000 years ago. Now there's a discrepancy between his age and mitochondrial Eve's age of about, between the two estimates, between 50,000 years and 80,000 years. Now you may wonder, why is that? Well, if you remember, if you know anything about the Bible, in the Bible it talks about a population bottleneck. the entire world's population was destroyed except for 8 people. You had Noah and his wife and his 3 sons and their 3 wives. And basically, all of the Y chromosomes that his sons had were nearly identical or identical to Noah's chromosome. So essentially, but all of the mitochondrial DNA was still contained in the females from the original Eve. So there's been more time for differentiation within the genetic material for Eve's mitochondrial DNA than Noah's chromosomal DNA. So basically, that is some evidence in general about that. There have also been some discrepancies about the rate of mutation of different parts of the genes and particular mitochondrial DNA. Evolutionary estimates say there's 1 mutation in every 600 generations. Creation says there's 1 mutation in every 40, which is a much more conservative number, and studies have actually shown that that number fits the data much more accurately than the evolutionary side. What's also interesting is evolutionists have actually traced all humans today back to 4 main gene pools to begin with. Now, at the time when they found this out, they of course didn't think, oh well, Noah's flood or anything like that. But as you remember, with the bottleneck, there were 4 main gene pools. Again, Noah and his wife and his 3 sons and their 3 wives. If you consider each pair a gene pool from which genes and differentiation to come out from throughout time, then that gives you 4 gene pools. According to evolutionary dogma, they say that at that time only 2,000 people remained. I don't know how they got that number, but the Bible says only 8 people remained. And I've recently studied a little bit on population studies, and they've actually found that the evolutionary estimate for how long humans have been around in our current population today, there's a huge discrepancy there. If you plug in some numbers into an exponential growth equation using creationary numbers, in general, what you'll find is that the population we see today of about 7 billion people on the earth is right along the lines of, or close to, what you would expect with the creation model. But with evolution, if you consider even a very conservative estimate of population growth, you end up with a number that is beyond comprehension. So evolution has essentially their explanations that growth did not happen very much for around 150, 160,000 years plus. And that just doesn't seem plausible, unless there are just an outrageous amount of predators picking off humans left and right. Chances are they're going to continue to grow. So those are my main 3 points. I'm sorry if they're a little scatterbrained. I didn't have a whole lot of time to plan this, but I hope this was helpful for someone or multiple people. If anyone has any questions or wants any sources, I can get those for you. And God bless you, and I hope that this could be a little bit eye-opening. All right, have a good day.